And we do have a quorum. Okay, and Diane, public posting requirement.
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the June 28th meeting minutes, or any additions or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve them if no one has any objections.
Give a second.
Second.
Nice job.
Just Kathleen likes jumping in there, I was waiting for her.
Okay, old business. Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we have a motion and a second, and all in favor?
Oh,
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Alright, I noticed on the agenda, we just have old business as general, although a previous agenda went out. There was a note there
Oh.
about median walkthrough,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and that was done. Was there anybody wanna make any comments about that?
I was just gonna, I figured we'd probably give us a report on what, they had some outstanding issues. So did they get those resolved, or?
The cocoa plum that needed replacing have been replaced, and the additional 17 dwarf exors have been planted. We have not done the transplanting or anything yet. That is a proposal in front of April, because this was work that was not given us direction, and to move the palm and to move 100+ cocoa plum, we submitted a proposal for that. So we were waiting, I think she wanted to wait until she saw that we finished the project. And I know Mainscape is waiting to hear back from her before we do anything.
So there's 100 and some cocoa plum that have to be moved?
Yeah, they weren't put in the right, correct place. It seems that they're too close to the edge. Am I correct in saying that?
It is, but why isn't some of this done on warranty?
Yeah.
Everything has been done on warranty, but because we were not given direction, a lot of the plants are like 18 inches off the side, which would be typical, but with only a 6-foot wide bed, and you guys stipulated 2 foot, so that's really not warranty, because we weren't told they needed to be 2 feet off the curb. And then the one palm, which we planted where it was supposed to be and made the adjustment because of the irrigation stub ups, that's the one you want moved down. Which again, we put it in where it was supposed to be on the plan. And our direction for anything that was interfering, that would be interfered by existing utilities, et cetera, we were to move the palms, which we did. It was just the one.
Well, it's just the one, but there's 2 ways to look at the palm issue.
We
Either-
asked for direction, and we were told, use your judgment, and that's what we did. The one palm was already in before we noticed that the other one was gonna be too close to the utilities for us to get in there, and that's when we moved it over a couple feet.
Alright, any other comments?
So, my understanding then, they're charging extra to move the cocoa palm.
Transplant them, yeah.
Isn't there a warranty time?
Well, no, what Nancy is saying is that the drawings didn't have all the specifications on them. And I think that well, that's a personal opinion, but it wasn't necessarily, I think that this board approved the concept, but the details, really, the
Mm-hmm.
staff didn't really review the thing. They just took us on our review and said go from there, and they didn't look at the details.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we're stuck with that.
And just, I agree with you, because in being at the few times it was discussed with the plan that was asked to be approved for the next 2-year, et cetera, there were some detailed questions asked by Gary Neubauer, and those things were up in the air. And I just think moving forward, we have to be really, but the part that concerns me is things that get agreed here, just like our last meeting, then go back and get changed. And
Right.
I understand we're an advisory committee, but those are the things we're trying to prevent, because that's wasted money. And when you get a bill in the mail that you're gonna get assessments, I mean, the money that I've sat in these meetings and see wasted, it's concerning.
I agree, it's, you know, we can make recommendations, but then there seems to be other cooks that come into the kitchen, and that was what we were fighting to begin with this.
That's what I heard.
And then, you know, like I said, I think staff needs to take some responsibility on this too, in reviewing the final
Mm-hmm.
thing, so, you know, we all kinda have learned from this, and hopefully we'll go forward.
Right.
Now, the question I have though, Nancy, on the maintenance out there on these areas, is it doesn't look like when the mowing is completed that the peanut grass is etched.
I don't think they're supposed to edge that every time we mow. I do know that they just got in the new herbicide that you recommended, that just came in the other day.
Okay.
So they will be starting that. Freddie is out of town this week, he's on vacation, so I really can't get with him on the schedule for how often they're doing that, but I can get with him next week on that,
Okay,
when he
good.
gets back.
Cause that's the one thing about the peanut grass, especially in the summertime, you know, you
Right.
gotta edge it at least every other week.
Okay.
Well, the contract for the CDD that Freddie falls under, I went and looked at it, he is required to edge every other week.
Okay, good.
So he needs to be doing that, I don't think that's being happening.
No.
Yeah, I'll get with him next week and verify. Like I said, I don't deal with the maintenance end of it, unfortunately, so I'll have to wait and defer to him next week, and then we can send you guys an email. I'll send it to Diane, and then she can forward it to the board.
And that, you know, that shouldn't be an additional cost?
No, it isn't. The maintenance for the median,
Yeah,
we did not charge for that in our bid. We said we would just include it,
right.
since we're already here doing the maintenance. So, that was one of the items that was supposed to be included in the bid, and we let everybody know that we were not charging additional maintenance for that.
Good. Cause you would've been cutting the grass there if nothing had gone down anyhow, so it's just a trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, administrative meeting?
So, can I ask
Oh, I'm
one other
sorry.
Yeah,
question? Sorry.
me too.
Go ahead.
So, there was the palms, you were talking about fungiciding those.
Actually, I went and looked at them today, and I don't remember Stephanie, Dr. Bledsoe getting back to me on that. So I need, cause we just looked at it, and then I was concerned that possibly maybe they got planted a little too deep, roots are right at the soil level, cause there's 5 of them showing some, but also the new growth is coming out perfectly fine, so I'm not sure if they've stressed at some point. But we're gonna continue to monitor, and I'm sending an email to Dr. Bledsoe to find out what she finally recommended on that. I think she said she thought they got stressed at some point during the transplant, but I need to get with her, excuse me, get with her and get that in writing, and then again, I can forward that to Diane, so she can get it out to everybody.
Okay.
Well,
And now that one palm that needs to be moved, you're saying you're putting in a proposal for that because the irrigation was in the way?
We put the initial palm, the one that you guys want me to move about 4 feet south.
Mm-hmm, right.
That palm is planted exactly where it is supposed to be planted.
And why do you say that?
Why do I say that?
Yeah.
Because we started at the north end and measured down, so that palm would have gone where it was supposed to do. When we measured for the second palm in that grouping of 4, it would have been on top of the irrigation stub-ups and valve boxes. It got moved farther south. And
Well,
then
I guess
the
it's a
other 2 were basically placed where they were supposed to be.
Okay, so I guess it's a matter of perception, because on one side, we're talking about, I can't really move cocoa plums because I wasn't giving any direction. But now I'm saying, but this palm had to be exactly there. It doesn't have to look right, it's just gotta be out there, because the other ones, so I mean, we can't
We
kinda
were
have it
just
both
told-
ways.
We were just told to move if there was a palm, we were given this direction. If a palm has interference from utilities, move the palm. So that's what we did. We moved the palm that was not able to be planted where it was planted. That's the only difference.
And that was the second palm in.
Correct.
So why wasn't the first palm spaced accordingly with the other three.
I'll be honest, Kevin, I can't answer that because I didn't do the layout. So I'd have to go back to the Naples manager that came out and assisted with the layout.
So it's, to me, that is a warrantable item, because I say that's in the wrong spot. It doesn't.
No, the palm is not, neither of the palms are in the wrong spot. The first palm is planted where it is supposed to be. The second palm had to be moved due to utilities. So it's not that we planted them in the wrong spot, we were directed to move the second palm to where we could due to utilities. So the first palm was not planted in the wrong place, it was planted where it should be placed. The second palm was adjusted due to the utilities.
But I think that's his question, is if you had to adjust that, then when you were planting, why didn't you just adjust the other one? If you had to slide that one 4 feet, why didn't you slide the other one 4 feet?
It's a judgment call, and I'll be perfectly honest, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know, we had the Naples manager assisting with this installation because I was doing 2 jobs at the time, which is okay, but he was just assisting so that we could do it a little bit better. I can call Kenny in the morning and talk to him and ask him who, what, when, where, why, but that's the best I can come up with for you today.
Well, the point being made, you know, because you even said you had to use your best judgment, and using your best judgment means that there's some common sense in there, that if one gets out of whack, well, then you have to readjust the other ones before they go in the ground. So, you know, if you can get some clarification on that.
I'll see what I can do tomorrow, I'll give him a call, it'll be too late to get him today.
Sure.
And Nancy, do you recall what the bid amount cost is going to be for transplanting those cocoa palms?
No, I don't
plums?
remember that, I'm sorry. I do probably 15 or 20 proposals
Right.
every 2-3 days, so, nope, sorry.
Diane, is that a number that can come back to the committee, just so we're aware?
And the palm.
It's all on one proposal.
Okay.
Can I ask?
Sure.
Okay.
It's open for questions.
Okay. Now, I have 2 questions. One is the weeding, and it's not down at that end, it's down towards the south end, that's the south
You're
end.
talking about the medians?
Yes. There's a
Again-
lot of
again-
weeds down that end.
Yeah.
Again, I have to defer, Freddie is out of town and I don't do maintenance. So I really can't answer maintenance questions. Are you talking about in the peanuts or in the plantings? The
There's no
regular
peanuts,
shrubbery?
there's no peanuts down at the south end.
Yeah,
Oh,
there-
you're not talking about the medians we just did?
No, I'm talking about the
Yeah,
whole.
that, I can't even, I'm not even going to try, cause I'm not involved in that. So, again, I can get with Freddie when he gets back on Monday, but
Okay.
that's the best I can do, sorry.
All right, now if the palms die at the north end, because,
Yeah, we'll replace them. That's
free of
under
charge?
warranty.
Okay.
Yeah, they're under warranty.
Because
That's,
there
that was
seems
part
to
of the
be a
bid
few,
process.
I mean, JV says they're not gonna die, but they definitely look like they're
The
dying.
centers are fine. I mean, I literally just walked it, you know, at 2:15, cause we were up, I was up here showing them exactly where all the plants needed to go. And, Caesar's my new installation supervisor, he and I walked, we pulled back soil, everything was fine there on every one of them, checked the buds, they're all fine. They're all sending out good new growth. And again, we'll continue to monitor, and if they die, yes, that's part of warranty, we will replace them.
Right, thank you.
No problem.
And to answer your question, yes, there is weeds in the peanut.
Well, yeah, they're right.
Right.
There are.
And so I know that was trying to get this herbicide and whatever that's gonna be
Yes,
sprayed on them, yeah.
And we just got that, so they're putting that into the schedule and they will start using that. Unfortunately, you know, the agronomy has their schedule, so they have to keep on that, but I'll talk with Robbie. I asked him today if they were gonna start using it, he said, well, it just came in this week, so it must have been like yesterday or Friday, something like that, and he'll get it on the schedule, so I'll find out and again, forward that information to you.
Yeah, and they also have, there's 2 materials that they'll be using on the weeds and the peanut grass. So it's just a matter of them getting on
Yeah, because we have a lot of peanuts in several properties, Plantation has it everywhere, so we're anxious to try this and see how it works.
Is this different than the stuff you recommended a month ago, Jeremy?
Well, Plateau is one of them.
Right.
And, that's a different chemical, but there's also something that they're getting ready to try called Segment.
Okay.
And, I forget the chemicals in there. They have big, long, fancy names.
You're right.
But there are two different modes of that. One's oriented towards the grasses, and then one's oriented towards the broadleaf weeds.
Okay.
So they'll be working on both of those.
Yeah, they are using the one that you recommended, so.
Okay, any other questions about the meetings? All right. Administrative meeting. Who put that on the calendar, schedule, agenda?
Somebody wrote that to me.
Well, I know that in last month's meeting, they talked about putting together an administrative meeting, and they wanted some of
Oh.
the landscape
Yeah,
people to show up.
yeah, you requested it. Please add name and dates. Oh,
I requested to
think-
know when the meeting was.
Yeah, to check schedules.
Right.
You all had asked for the agenda, so you could check your
Right.
schedules and see if you could attend.
And was that supposed to happen this month, this last month?
I don't know, I thought we were just setting a schedule, for the walkthrough.
There were two.
I
There
guess
was that one, and then there was when April started going through, she wanted to set an administrative and invited for that one also at the time.
Yeah, she was supposed to get back to us, and she didn't.
I don't think that one happened.
Okay.
all right. I'll follow up with her.
Okay,
Did-
ma'am.
Did she also want somebody at the board meetings? Is that what it was? That nobody was present?
I was at the board meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we did the minutes from May, and I gave Cal a slip and said if there was any questions, that I was available for landscaping. They just approved our minutes and didn't have any questions then. So, but I did tell Cal I was there for it.
I mean, you go to that meeting, and I
I-
assume that you're gonna be our
Yeah,
representative.
yes. It's a suit.
And they're now getting the, last time we talked about they weren't getting our meeting minutes,
Mhm.
but
But
they are now.
They got the May ones.
Okay.
Okay, that's the ones they didn't have any questions for. They approved of them without any questions, so I didn't
Yeah,
have to.
I don't know why they approved, let's see, was it the landscape they approved? They never approve committee minutes, they're there informational, that's all it is.
Right, and,
We don't need their approval on those, and when they did that at the last meeting, I'm like, what?
and I was.
I hadn't seen that.
And I did a note to Cal to say that if there was any questions, that I was available for.
And that, the minutes not being in there is somewhat, I'll take fault for that. When I send out a request, deadline for the board book, blah, 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 I usually wait for someone to respond and say, put this on or do this. And if I don't get followed up, I haven't, so I'll just automatically put it on there. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's what we want.
because like today, I'm waiting for two other committees and the one never responds and the other one always responds and, he sends all his stuff that he wants in there. So, honestly, sometimes I'm just,
Well, it's really more of an informational for them.
Right,
yeah, that's exactly what it, and once it's been approved by the committee, it is on the website. Everything is on the website.
Well, I think with the thing we were talking about last time, Diana, was that we were not getting communication to the board.
Okay.
And so, because of that, the recommendations we were presenting weren't even being communicated.
They didn't.
Therefore, we said, hey, we need to at least have the minutes
Okay.
to them, and that was the whole reason for that.
Okay. They'll be in there.
Great.
It's
Yeah,
the
because you-
second meeting of the month when the landscape appears.
yeah, because you
It's
can't
different.
talk to them about anything if they don't have anything in front of them. but there wasn't anything in the main minutes anyway.
So if we just to go back to that administrative meeting in section 7, second paragraph of last month's meetings, April did state that she was gonna have another administrative meeting in July and hopefully have someone to be there, and Jerry said, let him know and you'd be there. You check your schedule, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And then I responded that, hey, if you let me know, I'll try to be there, but I guess that,
I didn't hear anything.
yeah, you didn't hear anything and I didn't hear anything, so.
And I said I would be there too.
So if we wanna
Mhm.
just reach out to April and say, when is she actually gonna do that, that'd be great.
Got it. Okay.
Well, I'm sure right now, trying to formalize a budget is probably consuming, just relating that to what's going on.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, so it's not forgotten. We'll go from there.
Well, it's her request, so we're just trying to satisfy her requirements. Okay.
Are there any updates on the FPL issue that was supposed to have been resolved in May, beginning of May?
Okay, let's put that on the agenda for next month.
Mm-hmm.
I got an email that they had to extend their thing, I don't know how long though, because I did ask April.
Let's keep it on there, that was,
Yeah,
we'll forget about it.
because it has been brought up at every GSD board meeting, and it's been brought up at our last 2 LACs, and there's still no answer. But it was supposed to, the meeting in April, it was supposed to be done within the first 2 weeks of May.
Right, and they did extend it, cause I did bring that up.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, and the only reason I say, because one of the things we discussed, or in open discussion with April last time, was the residents in Cypress Point that live on that backside, where the power lines are and all that. I mean, we had another episode last week where a 4-wheel drive was back there spinning donuts and going all over the place and up and down and whatever in their backyard. And they also have somebody that's going in there, which they have on video, and dumping all their horticulture behind the resident's house in the field. So if the gates were up like they were supposed to have been in May, that would resolve that issue.
Yeah.
The other concern from the resident is, you know, they get those and I saw the video, they get those trucks going and they're going around and around, and I mean, you know, they're like, and what if somebody flips one of those trucks back there and dies, and then who's gonna be liable and responsible? They aren't supposed to be back there, but there's also no barrier, there's no signs, there's no, so.
I'm trying to think, is the FPL easement the CDD?
I'm sorry?
I'm trying to think if the FPL easement is the CDD's property. Do we have the right to?
Mm-hmm, I believe it is, I
Or is
believe
it
that's what's
FPL
been,
that puts
isn't
that
it?
gate up?
Yeah, I believe it is from the way it's been discussed at the board meetings.
It's maintained by the CDD. Cause they're mowing it.
That's April.
Can they consider that a linear park, right? That's some
It
aspect
can
of
be a
that?
yeah, if that's how it's zoned or whatever. It's got limitations, so I can. Okay.
Okay.
I will check.
Might be some kind of interlocal to go with the easement agreement, from the aspect that even though it's Florida Power and Light, you know, the district can use it as a walking trail.
Right.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's probably a little bit more complex, and I'm sure if somebody got hurt, you know how it goes, everybody gets sued.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Sorry I had to leave.
It's all right.
Um,
Go ahead, Kathleen.
I'm gonna, just real quick, I'm gonna see
Andrew, how's the Cypress Point edging, they can, okay?
Yeah, Freddie, you know, we offered to put it in our maintenance contract. Freddie, as you know, was generous enough that he offered, and they have followed through. So, greatly pleased at that.
So they're mowing right up to your landscape. That's
Okay.
good.
I just wanted to make sure they were doing.
And they were, they have been the whole time, as long as I've lived there. What was happening was they weren't doing any of the hard edging, et cetera. They would mow, but then they just left everything, anything that was up against the walls or the monuments or whatever. So I was surprised when he offered to even ask if they could even go up to the area. I think it does make it easier on them, because when they're mowing or going, you know, they just do the whole thing
Right.
now. So now it is being maintained,
Good.
yeah.
And there's still no landscaping at the gateways going before. Maybe we can put that on for next agenda to see
Okay.
if that's.
Which one?
The
Oh, the
Monument,
gateway wall?
Stony Brook Wall?
yeah,
Yeah.
well, it actually says gateway, but.
They were supposed to, weren't they
Yeah.
supposed to check on
Yeah.
the recommendation of the
Mm.
soil or the
So we don't have any.
water? or
Hi. Diane said that she had a couple questions. The FPNO easement, I spoke to WCI about that. They're coordinating tying off the ends instead of blocking them from traffic. And apparently they had a change of plans or something. They had to go back to the county for a permit. So I will double check with them in another week or two and see how far they've got on that. And I believe you had a question about the July admin meeting. Is that the Bill Pricey? Is that the master plan?
Yes.
So our intentions were to have an admin meeting with him and then bring it to this particular advisory, meeting. And that fell on the wayside. He is struggling with inventory of the plants, but he did contact me this week, and we are on schedule. We are going to have a meeting, I believe it's next Friday or something like that. He wants to go over with me some of the issues that he's having, but I'm hoping to definitely have something, in place and vetted to the committee for the next, committee meeting. And he said that in his email, that he should have something ready to launch to you guys at the August meeting.
You had requested that a member or two of the committee attend that admin meeting. Do you still want to do that?
No, he said in his email that he just wanted to discuss some issues with me, so I don't know what the deal is, but I'll reach out to him and ask if he would just go ahead and schedule our norm, like we had talked about that we would have a committee meeting, or a committee member at our admin meetings. Let me clarify that with him, so I'm not sure exactly what he has in mind for next week's meeting, but I can clarify that with him. And also, were you guys copied on the invoice that came from Mainscape to, so I think it's
We're asking
Proposal.
about that.
$1,200 to move the plants away from the curbing for our punch list. And since there was no, I need to vet it through Cal, I need to review the board action on that. I'm not sure if it was a not to exceed, but I need to vet that to Cal and see if we can just go ahead and pay that. That's what I wanna do, is just because the plans were not, they didn't have the centers on there, so we didn't drill down to that specification. And because of the transition, we wasn't really monitoring it that closely as far as where exactly to put these plants. So I just wanted to go ahead and get that done. She did say that they're planting the plants to replace the dead ones. They've got those, in motion, and so now I just need to give her the go-ahead on the 11/25. Outside of the 11/25, she's asking, is everything satisfactory and okay for payment? Because they haven't been paid on any of that yet, so they're just sending in their $97,000 invoice. Do we have any other issues beyond the punch list? Cause that's a separate invoice.
Well, I think we had discussion on that palm tree, moving the palm tree. She's claiming that she was given direction to make it look right. And then, so then we pressed her and says, well, the spacing's not even. She says, well, the other one's exactly where it's supposed to be. So I think there's some,
I think the punch list included moving a palm tree, didn't it?
Well, it
It
did,
did,
but
but
now
she
they
wants
wanna
to-
contest it.
no, they want us to pay for it.
Yeah, they want
Yeah.
they want a bill for it, and
Not
she
that
said
they-
it's
yeah.
on that same
Yeah,
bill
that's
to
it.
move the cocoa plums. She said it's
Okay.
all on the same bill to charge
Right.
for it. And what Kevin was saying to her was, cause the mention of moving the cocoa plums, well, we weren't given any solid direction, but then turned around and said, we were given solid direction to use our best judgment. So his question was, well, if you had to move one 4 feet and now it's off center, then why didn't you move the other one 4 feet? That's best judgment, but now you wanna bill us for that. And there was really no resolution on an answer on that.
Okay, all right, well, I can continue those conversations with her, as well, and so.
Can you forward me that proposal so I can give it to him?
Yes, and I apologize, I just haven't had time to drill down on it yet. She's asking me, and I'm like, I'm not, it'll be next week, because I haven't got caught up yet. Anything else? Okay, so until we get that squared away, then I'll hold payment, let her know that, then hold off on that, we'll get it squared away.
Was there any discussion with Mainscapes regarding the tree suckers we were talking about? We showed you on that drive-through.
All of the little pop-ups. We have not had another, it's on my list to discuss at our next monthly Mainscape meeting. And July has kinda got away from me, I don't think I've had one with them in July. But it's on my hit list to discuss with them how we're going to tackle that.
Can we add that to the agenda for next time too? Because I brought that up now 3 months in a row. And I've talked to Freddie, he said, oh yeah, and then I talked to Al together, and they said, yeah, what do you recommend? And I told them what I recommended. Doesn't mean they have to do it my way, but, and then we brought it up again at the walkthrough, and now they've mulched over top of it, and it still looks like heck. So something needs to be done. It just looks poor. It looks unmanicured, unmaintained. So if you can
Okay.
reach out to them, it'd be great.
Okay, yeah, I think, we've been trying to get a little bit of momentum with the monthly meetings because the big guys come in to our monthly meetings. Jared's there, and now he's passing the torch to another gentleman, can't remember his name, it's kinda hard to pronounce. No. There's someone else taking over for Jared for the territory. No, I can't think of it, it's hard to pronounce.
New guy.
Yeah, it's the new guy. So anyway, the meetings that we've been having with them, have the, a little bit more authority at the table, so I think maybe our complaints are heard a little better there.
Thank you.
Okay? All right, thanks.
Okay, any other, comments with the old business? Okay, a call for candidate. I know we do have a vacant position on the board, so, if we can just bring that to the big board's attention.
I did,
Okay.
and I sent it out to all the HOAs, I mean, I did everything I could do, and
Yep.
nothing. I did not receive one response.
And I did, we sent it out to our whole entire HOA. I received one response back, and I think I even forwarded that one to you, didn't I, Diane, about, she said her background is in code enforcement and et cetera, et cetera. It was really
I don't know if I
kind of
got that.
evasive. It wasn't about, oh yeah, I can help on the landscape committee. It was, I'm in,
I don't think I got that.
no?
I don't think so.
I can forward it. Her background was in code enforcement and this and that, and if we had a need for that type of thing, she was willing to do whatever, but nothing on the landscape portion. It was more about code enforcement, which I appreciated somebody responding now.
Right.
I'm like, at least somebody's reading the emails.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
you know, once the
I-
summer gets over with too.
I put it on
A lot
the
of people come
website
and go
and
and don't wanna commit
Facebook
during the
and
summertime.
I put it out all.
Yep, I saw it.
HOA,
I saw it.
nothing.
Do we have a, I hate to bring this up. I'll wait till JB, didn't we have some people that were complaining about the
Median?
median?
Those are prime
Oh, yeah,
candidates.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that you don't complain on the next
So-
project, would you like to join us?
right, do we have those contacts?
You mean from the board meetings?
Well, I don't know who was complaining, they were calling people and sending.
Yeah,
And-
they were
Nasty
quoted in
grams.
And
the
they were-
news press.
Do we have their
Wasn't that
information?
from Dolores? Wasn't
Yeah.
Dolores getting all the complaints?
Yes.
No, yeah, but there was a couple of people in it that had quotes in the news press, I can't remember their names.
And probably if you looked on Gateway Sun, I'm sure he's probably written something up too.
I can go back to the board minutes and see who came in and.
Well, I wouldn't worry about it.
No.
Nobody came in except Dolores.
You know how it goes.
Yeah.
Did,
It's easy
did
to
you hear,
complain.
Yeah.
did you hear what happened in Dallas? They were all complaining, right, about the police shootings? And the police chief says, hey, we're hiring. Hiring's gone up 341% because of that comment.
Wow.
People are now getting in there, so.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you can't, why not reach out to the complainers, let them have
Sure.
a voice?
I agree.
Mhm.
So if you might even wanna call Dolores and find out who she was, getting her information from.
All those phone calls she was receiving.
Right.
I think she sent us emails, didn't?
There was one email that had a
Seems to me
chain
that
of,
There was a chain of emails.
cause that was the one email that Rod was still on too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to go back and do some investigating, okay.
Sunshine laws, I think we all know about them, I think we just kinda get lax. That we just basically can't, in any setting, discuss whatever's gonna be voted on. But other than that, we can just talk away.
Alright.
We can't email each other either.
Right. Well, we just can't have communication regarding things that would be voted on.
This committee is really good, seriously. I have another committee, oh boy.
Yeah, I think I probably know which one that is.
I have to constantly send reminders, and then Tony gets wind of it, and oh boy.
Alright, next meeting, I believe that's actually August 23rd.
Oh. You are so right.
Okay.
That's why you're the pres, man, you're on top of this
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
God, thank God.
On
Right.
the edge. Cutting edge.
23rd.
In next meeting, you know, the topics we were talking about for the agenda, I think we'll want an update when Ellie said she was doing a proposal to plant where there was gaps. Also, what happened with the $21,000 separate fund, what was the decision on that? Did the trees get finally voted? I mean, we don't have answers on any of this stuff, really.
The 21,000 is voted on by the CDD.
Do what? Okay.
As far as I know, they voted the 21,000 in at the last CDD meeting.
Okay, well, maybe we can just get an update.
Yeah.
Official.
Oh,
Because the confusion was with that pot of money, could the trees, was the money able to be rolled over, or could we add to it and take from somewhere, and were the trees all gonna get, you know, et cetera? And then the plant planting was something else, so if we can get clarification on that next meeting.
Well, I mean, right now, I,
make sure she's here.
adding,
Mhm.
Oh, see, that's the problem now.
adding those two things,
She leaves at 3:30, but the field staff has summer hours because of the heat. She's never gonna be here at 4. Maybe she could, do a summary and give it to me.
well, why can't she, do like trade time, come in late, to leave late?
I can ask her.
It's only one time a month. Cause I really don't think we're gonna get anything accomplished if we don't have somebody here to field the questions and respond. And going back and forth in an email is not productive.
We can do that at our desk. We don't have to get together and do that.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all right, so August
Third.
23rd.
Now, y'all correct me if I'm wrong or add anything else. What I caught from this current meeting was that we would like a little bit more information on the Stony Brook wall landscaping.
Correct?
Some definition in regard to FPNL and WCI with the gates on the power property.
Correct?
Bill Prissy, it sounds like he's gonna be here to discuss the future landscaping.
Master plan.
That'll be it, yeah. We'll try to get him on first so that he can get
Okay.
in and get out. Looking for some, what staff is doing in regards to the control of the oak tree suckers. And of course, the update on the replants, Kendra, that you brought up, and then the allocation of the $21,000 funding. So was there anything else at this point that we wanted to get some enlightenment about?
I had a couple things. One of the other things on here was that the contract addendum for the mowing schedule, because of that 36 or 42 times a year and the people that were complaining on the backside, they were supposed to review that and come back.
Mowing schedule for the power line property, right?
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, the whole issue about the bush hog and how many times, the 42 versus
Right.
36. And that contract was supposed to be reviewed, et cetera, that's still hanging out there.
Just
Number
to-
of
just-
mows and then type of equipment.
Well, there was some additional information given by April at the walkthrough, where she had said that they are looking at their entire contract, because there are other issues, I guess, that they should be getting paid for, or they feel they should get paid for, or they wanna tweak it. So they were gonna write an addendum to the contract. And part of that was gonna be whether they mowed the 39 times or whatever. And so
So we just ought to update on the mowing contract, call it that?
yeah, I'd say, yeah, the changes, or addendum.
Mhm.
I'm not sure, I think she used the word addendum.
I believe that's the word in the minutes too.
Okay.
What about the mainscape? There was mention of the edging of the perennial peanut, to check on that,
Yep,
is that,
'cause.
That's what we discussed at this meeting.
but she wasn't certain, wasn't she gonna check with Freddie?
Yep, correct.
There's supposed to be a
Okay.
follow-up,
Yeah.
That's right, Kevin's the one that says every other month.
and, there's something else
Every other
with
week.
Freddie.
And we'll also want on there the, what was the final decision on the move of the palm as far as payment or warranty?
Yeah, we wanna know about the bid, what happens with that,
So,
when they're gonna move the cocoa pounds.
so we've got a full agenda for next month.
Yeah. And the only other thing, I don't know how you all feel about it, but I would personally like to see is, you know, there were 3 things that came up in mention. Again, it's the same thing that's being discussed at the GSD meeting, and everybody keeps saying they want it to get better, but we're personally not seeing it, is the communication. You know, whether it's what's going, that's a whole nother issue, but I mean, you all were supposed to be contacted back about a July administrative meeting, and even if it's not gonna happen, or they're busy, or they're behind, to tell Diane or somebody a quick email of like, it's gonna be postponed.
Right, heads up.
You know, she just mentioned in comment that she meets with Mainscapes every month for their big meeting, and then realizing it's the 26th of July, she's like, oh, I didn't have a meeting this month, you know, like, so the thing is, who's responsible for this follow-up and this follow-through and this communication? Because if meetings are being missed, that's how we're winding up with, and then they're just being told to use their discretion, and there's no staff direction, the term that was used, no staff direction. that's how we're winding up on these. You know, when there's no communication, it's hard to point fingers at somebody and not, you know, say, we don't wanna be billed for that, if meetings aren't being attended and things aren't being communicated and followed through on or followed up on.
But there also should have been some more questions asked too, and just say, well, your own discretion, but there should have been, what do you mean, what do you need, more so, and there was never any questions too. It works both ways.
It does, and I agree, but, and I think, again, as JP said, it's a learning thing, and that's some of the things that we wanna prevent or work on for the future. This is a huge project coming up, and we don't wanna be nickel and dime, 1,100 here and 1,500 here and 2,000 there, because somebody wasn't there or gave a blurred line of use your best judgment, and then we turn around and get a bill when we don't like it. And I just think that's the part about, the communication is crucial, the meetings need to have follow-through, you need to stick to them, and then it be communicated back.
I agree, there's a new paradigm out there, and, you know, Kevin, you as a horticultural businessman, and myself in industry, there's certain groups out there that aren't catching it, that, you know, back when things were good and things were escalating as far as property values, you know, there was always room for a little bit of,
Margin for error?
yeah, a larger margin for error, because you always had that little extra pot of money hidden here or there, you had that extra labor. And the new paradigm is, you know, there's less of that pot around there, and there's less labor. So, you know, it's how are you gonna be creative to face the responsibilities
Mm-hmm.
that you have today? And I'm starting to question, and, you know, I respect this staff, but I'm starting to question whether this staff is catching up with the new paradigm. You know, because I put some of this mistake on them to follow, you know, to find the details. You know, we're here to advise them, you know, I never saw anything except concepts here. And, you know, we agreed on the concept, but when you get into the details, you know, the people that are handling the day-to-day need to be a little bit more on their game on that.
Mm-hmm. Or if you're gonna take a recommendation from the committee and change it and go and present it, then it needs to come back to us communicated. I think that's the main thing, communication, whether
Right.
it's them to the crews or the vendors or to us. I mean, that's the only way we're all gonna hold hands and help each other.
Right. Well, we all have a stake in it.
Yeah.
So you put down on the agenda for next month, the bid for the cocoa palms too? So we'll know that if they did it or if it was accepted, cause we'll wanna know that. That goes
Update
along
on
with the palm.
replants, is that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
we have-
No, the replants is,
No, that's Ellie's,
that's different.
that's Ellie's
all
gap
the ways down.
filling.
This is
Okay.
just up in the new
And then the
replants.
cocoa plums is the second issue that you're gonna get the invoice from, or the proposal bid or invoice from April.
And we wanna know if it wasn't gonna, if it's accepted and if they're, when they plan to do it, this year or next.
On a timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
There's another one too that Kevin brought up about the fungicide. She was supposed to
Mhm.
get a hold of Dr.
Bledsoe.
Yeah,
Bledsoe, and she was gonna report back.
correct.
Good point.
Okay, so.
Way to go, Kevin.
Diane's picking up my slack.
And did we also catch that with Freddie not being here today, we didn't have an agenda for the spraying of the peanut or how it's gonna be handled? That she was gonna get back to us on that also.
Right.
Mhm. It was edging the peanuts and spray.
The edging as well as the spraying.
And spray.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'm just gonna throw this out here since we have a second. You know, in the meeting last month, April stated that the staff was maxed out, didn't have enough staff, couldn't keep up with their own emails, I'm
Mhm.
reading this out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, she hoped to come up with an idea regarding the effectiveness of the committees and the communication between. And, you know, it seems to me like, you know, it may be still in work in progress. And I'm wondering if I don't go to the board meetings that you guys do, but are they aware that the challenges that the staff are having with keeping up with stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in the process of doing a reorganization and probably adding. It's just, we do have a new utility manager, just came on board, and I think that's helping, but we really are maxed out.
Mm-hmm.
There's only like, I say 8 or 9 full-time people that do run this place.
And that was the concern that I've
It's very,
expressed
very-
at multiple board meetings in reference to concerns and issues in certain areas the community is starting to have, because it started in an area, the fun park, but then when we didn't back off, cause we kept getting the, okay, we'll look into that, you know, and that went on for over a year. And then finally it was like, no, it's getting worse and worse and worse, and this community is expanding. We're getting growth and development at the end. You're gonna have Publix, they're clearing all of this, it's all gonna be retail. We no longer have sheriff supervision and the clocks on the road and all that, so now we have people going up and down Gateway Boulevard as a cut-through at 55, 60 miles an hour. We're starting to see all these issues, and this community is growing. It's not gonna get smaller.
No.
So what, as you said, what are you going to do to add staff or add efficiency? But if you don't tackle them, they're gonna be out of control. And in those meetings, it was confessed, they're starting to see those same problems. And we'll just talk about the park, not all the other things, but they're seeing it at the soccer fields. They're seeing it in some other areas too. And I wasn't even aware of that. So then my point was really validated, is that it's not gonna get better. With growth and development and expansion, and then another however many homes back here with a road cut, I mean, it's not going to get less. So what are we trying to do? And, they are short-staffed. So what are we gonna do?
Well, there's different ways to address that, and I think that's, that goes back to your question, what are we gonna do? Because the old paradigm was, well, we'll just hire a new staff person, and, you know, the things that go with that.
Right.
Are, you know, there's a cost benefit.
Sure.
Effectiveness there.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's sometimes getting the old staff to realize that the ways that they're comfortable and ways they're doing things is gotta change.
Mhm.
Or, you know, bring in somebody that has a higher, expertise, you know, educationally as well as, you know, pragmatically.
Mhm.
And then they set a new tone.
Agreed. Because then on the flip side, as you, all of us know, is that not only that, or you can wear out the ones you have.
Right.
Or they don't wanna change out of the comfort zone, and you're gonna lose staff, and then you're even down less.
More.
And now you're trying to replace again. So,
Turnover is so great.
yeah,
And April's only been here, what? 4
5,
months?
6 months,
She came,
5
I think,
months.
in,
February.
February,
All right,
so,
February.
yeah.
End of January, February.
So, you know, 7 minus 2 is 5 months.
Mhm.
And going into that time of the year, being a taxing district, you know, you've got budgets as well as trying to learn the job. So she has a steep learning curve.
And she did walk into a hornet's nest of some pretty, you know, issues that were on the table. I mean, as we hear at the board meetings. And I get it, but it doesn't, again, it's, but what are you gonna do about it? Because, one, you can't expect it all on her, but we also can't have the continued lack of communication or just lip service to get you to go away so she, you know, for 30 days so she can get something else done. I
Right.
mean, there's, as you say, there's gotta be a balance in there somewhere. And I'm
Well-
sure those are things they're addressing and trying to figure out.
Well, from a landscape committee standpoint, I know we're only advisory, but, you know, they're not even having the landscape meeting
Mm-mm,
with Mainscapes.
mm-mm.
Maybe we could help with some of that
Sure.
and say, on the agenda is Mainscapes once a month.
Mhm.
And then just show up and then we discuss it.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's really the charter of this committee, but it certainly would take some of the pressure off of her, because she's not a landscape expert either. And to me, the advisory committee is not just to work on the master plan, but to improve the property as a
The-
whole
Mhm. And the process.
in the process.
Mhm.
So, I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
I think it's a great idea, because I can tell you, if you two weren't here on this committee, you all speak the same language and lingo, and you have, no different than, we've had this problem in our end bed at Cypress Point for as many years as I can remember, and in one recommendation, you said, why don't you take out the soil and put in this and, you know, do this before you go to all that other expense? I wouldn't have known that. And it's been resolved. It's perfect. So, taking that talent and expertise and knowledge to the landscape committee meeting with them, where you're speaking the same language with them, I think it would help her.
And it's still
I think it's a
recommendations,
great
but I
idea.
think she could lean heavily on us when she's dealing with Mainscapes.
Mhm.
Now with the head of the Mainscape that wants that she meets, come to our meeting? Because that's the only way we really could communicate.
Well, is that a meeting that, it would be better just maybe for us, either of us or whoever with a background in that, just volunteer to be a part of that meeting with her rather than put
Mhm.
it under the
Okay.
auspices
public.
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
sunshine laws.
Yeah, because according to what she was saying, at that meeting, they're discussing way bigger issues than just what we're working on. They're discussing other things that may or may not be going well, or that need fixed or need resolved. So that to me is a meeting that's a bigger fish, right, than just our little. The other thing, and I don't know where, maybe we could help with this, is with Bill. You know, this is already a 2-year, possibly 3-year plan. I was surprised at that when I heard that in the first meeting, back in April, when it was approved that day. But if we're having missed meetings and the last meeting was almost 60 days ago, it's pushing and I mean, what's a 2-year plan could become a 3.5-year plan if there's no pressure to hold him to those meetings and agreeing, oh yeah, I'm busy too, I'm working on budgets, so yeah, let's just skip it this month. It's not resolving our problems or our process.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, but she did say that Bill was having challenges with the inventory.
Inventory.
So that in itself would slide it, right? There's really no reason to have a meeting if you're not ready.
Mhm. But I'm not clear on what is she referring to as inventory, because if you remember in that April meeting, the whole entire timeline and agenda was up there presented by him. There wasn't any of that stuff even in there. It was about drawing up plans and then having these community parties for feedback so that we don't get backlash because residents didn't feel like they were involved, and it was party 1 and party 2 and so I'm not sure what that means, the inventory.
And the scope of the work, the first thing we're supposed to do is identify what we had here, take an inventory, so you could
Okay.
plan accordingly based on what you already have.
Okay. So do you believe that's what he hasn't
Yes.
been out to do an inventory?
Well, I think he's doing it, but I think he's having a challenge
Okay,
documenting it, or
Okay.
whatever, or getting through it, I don't know, she didn't
Right.
elaborate why.
okay.
Might have been bigger than what he anticipated.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, which was a little bit of our concern at that April meeting that day. when stuff was being presented, it was like, this is a massive project.
It is.
It's not a one-man design.
I'll give Bill a call, see what's going on.
I think that'd make us all feel better, just kinda get a grip on where we are.
And then remind him that he needs to be at our August 23rd meeting.
August 23rd.
So Tuesday?
Fourth Tuesday.
Yes, the fourth Tuesday.
Under a crescent moon. Okay,
Are we good?
so after we beat that horse to death,
Yeah.
I have one more thing.
okay, I guess not. Go ahead.
I wanna say happy birthday to Kendra. It was her
Oh,
birthday.
thank you.
What, today?
Sunday,
Oh,
Before we adjourn. I thought that would-
Well, happy birthday.
29 again.
it's public now,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 29 again. No, we were talking earlier before you guys came in about, I spent it boating every island I think there was. It was a wonderful day.
Oh, good.
Lots of dolphin, lots of manatee, huge turtles. Hadn't seen any of those in a while and saw two within 10 minutes of each other. It's pretty cool.
Cool.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
All right.
Do we need to vote on that?
All in favor? Aye.
So where did you go boating?
Oh, Cayo Costa and Usapa and North Captiva
Okay.
and Bokeelia and
Oh,
Matlacha and the whole gamut. We island hopped
Awesome.
everywhere. Yeah, and it couldn't have been more perfect because storms, as you know, we're having them all the time. So we'd see something developing off, so instead we'd go over here. And then we'd go somewhere, as we